everyone. Welcome back to probably your favorite podcast, or what I hope is your favorite podcast. Welcome back to the Book Boat. I'm one of your lovely co hosts, Jocelyn, and then my other lovely co host.
Hi everybody, I'm Alejandra, and yeah, like Jocelyn said, I really hope we're at least top five right now. I know we're still new. We haven't even been doing this for a year, but it's been exciting and it's been a fun journey. And I don't know, like, are we crazy for doing this our first year teaching in a pandemic and trying to do a podcast?
Honestly, I think about that all the time. And then right before this, we started recording this, I was kind of like venting to Alejandra about just like some things that are going on in my like personal mind space right now. And I don't know what it was, but the moment we started recording this podcast, I like instantly shut it down and I felt
Yeah.
so much happier.
Oh.
So, although this is our first year teaching in a pandemic online, this podcast has definitely kind of saved my sanity right now. Like I was
Oh, that
crying
makes me
20 minutes before and now I'm fine.
Yeah, no, and we talked about it, and I always like it's my history is a little complicated teaching world. This is like my first year as a credential teacher, but it's about my fourth year of a teacher on record. And it's hard. And I like look at a lot of our friends who are in the cohort who, this is their first year as a teacher of record. And I can't imagine going into the first year in a pandemic. So I was telling Jocelyn, like, you guys have to give yourselves grace. Like, this is
Mhm.
really, really challenging, a pandemic, and so much is happening in the world. And I really hope that soon, you guys will be able to experience what it's like being in the classroom one-on-one with the students, because I think it's so special. And
Mhm.
I think you can create these bonds over Zoom, and I look at my class and I love them, but it is different when you are in person and you're seeing them every day for the full day, and it's different. So I hope we can get to that at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, but yeah, it's crazy just how just everything is just so changing. And it was weird because now that I think about it, like last year at this time, we're like, our school's gonna open. Our school's gonna be
Yeah.
open by fall. And like now, like the school I'm currently at is telling me
Hmm.
we are opening in person by fall. Like be prepared.
Wow.
And I've
Yeah.
almost just like part of me like freaked out because I was like, oh my God, I don't get to like teach in pajamas anymore. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like part of me freaked out in the sense of like that inner, like it's almost like that first day of school jitters for
Yeah.
like in general, like just I feel like I'm a student again because I feel like I have to like relearn like how do I walk across, how do I write on a whiteboard, like these are
Yeah,
things.
no, it's gonna, I feel like a lot of schools have started to open up, and I believe you and I are still on Zoom. Actually, I am in a very weird spot right now where we might return in person very, very soon. I'm still waiting to get confirmation. When we're recording this, it's very late April, and I'm kind of nervous because I'm like, it's the end of the year. There's a lot going on. I
Yeah.
don't want to get too deep into that because I don't know yet, but yeah, it's gonna definitely be crazy when we go back in person either now or in the fall, because a lot of kids have been out of school for a year now, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of relearning, but I also hope
Hmm.
there's a lot of changes. And I know at the beginning of the pandemic, like, teachers were being praised, and people were seeing the job that we have that's really challenging. And I think a lot has also gone on just with just the country itself, a lot
Hmm.
of things in politics and a lot of things dealing with race. And I hope that when we reopen, there's a lot of change that's also done. I feel somewhat hopeful, and I hope that we also don't go back into a lot of old ways, and especially standardized testing. I'm looking at you. I hope there's some type of change there, but
Yeah.
I can only hope for now, and hope that I can do something to, I don't know, cause some change.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully. I feel the change is definitely coming. But before we get sidetracked and we talk about what's
Yes.
going on with our lives and what we would love to change about districts and schools, we do have some exciting books for you today. And we're kind of getting on this topic of uh, different family structures
Hmm.
and like gender norms,
Yeah.
which is I think is we've kind of I mean we've kind of briefly touched on like little books here and there,
Yeah.
but it's it's always interesting to see the different family structures as a teacher, to like know like where your students, like who are their parents. Maybe they live with grandparents, aunts,
Mhm.
uncles, a guardian. Maybe they have two dads, two moms, like maybe one. So it's always interesting, and it's just respecting and knowing family structures, I think, is just so important. And it's a good way to like introduce students and your child about different family structures is books. And here we
Yeah.
are. um, yeah, so we have three exciting books for you today. And I'm going to go ahead and start with mine here. So I picked, actually, Alejandra suggested these books to me, and I actually really, really like them. Starting with they're both by the same author, Doug Senko. And the first one is My Papa is a Princess and My Mama is a Mechanic. So I really, really love both of these books, because it I guess like it will not I guess it kind of like goes against those like gender stereotypes, but in
Mhm.
like a nice way. Um, and it makes like, it doesn't explicitly say like, oh, my dad is gay or my mom is a lesbian or anything like that.
Mhm.
But it just like just talks about the whole parent and just how the parent treats the child. So it's more about like how just amazing the parent is. And so I love that it kind of like steers away with being like a little bit of like kind of almost like labeling, but more about just like the care that the parent provides for the child. For example, on My Mama is a Mechanic, the child talks about how like, oh, my mom is a surgeon. And then it should then goes to the next page, and like she's sitting there like stitching something for him, and so he sees her
Oh.
as like a surgeon. And then it's like the same thing, like it talks about like with the dad, My Papa's a Princess, like when her dad braids her hair, he's a hairdresser. Like so she sees like how caring, like the child sees how
Yeah.
caring the parent is, and for both of these books. And so I kind of really love that, because it focuses, yes, it does kind of like go against the gender stereotypical like gender roles that a parent should fill, but it goes more like about how a parent should care. Like you're doing like the little things, and it's like to you, like you may be just sewing your child's favorite sweatshirt, but to them,
Mhm.
like you're a superhero.
Yeah.
And I really love that, because I think that's, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I imagine that is what parenthood
Yeah.
is just doing the little things for your child and being there for them and being the person that they come to. I mean, I call my parents, and my mom the other day was just telling me like, I think you're one day gonna be 40 and still call me for advice on life. And I'm gonna tell you like that my parents always call me kiddo or girlfriend, and my mom was like, I'm gonna be like, girlfriend, at one point you got to stop calling us and make your own decisions. But it's that I really like value. It's like how the parent cares, and my dad was like that. Sorry, I'm talking a lot about myself today now, but
No, go ahead.
my dad, I have pictures with him, and fortunately, they had all girls. I have a stepdad, but I call him my real dad.
Yeah.
And from his previous marriage, she had two daughters, and then my
Mhm.
mom from there had us two. So it's just all girls that run the house. And my dad was never shy of having tea parties or letting us
Oh.
put crazy dresses on him and put like necklaces and those like clip-on earrings and feather boas. He like and dance around the living room with us, because to him, like he knew that those moments would put a smile on my face. And so I
Mhm.
think sometimes like I hear people kind of talk about like, oh, I would never play teacups with my daughter. Like, no, like I would never do that. I'm like, why? Like, you miss out on the joys of like being a parent. And it's like, because they're like, oh, well, like it's not the what a dad would do, but it's like,
Mhm.
but a dad would care. So I always
Yeah.
think about it in that sense. So that's what I really like about those books, is that it also talks about like a dad can braid hair. A mom can be a mechanic. She can be a chemist. All of this like crazy things. Well, not crazy, but just like going against those like gender norms, gender stereotypes. So those were the two books I picked. So yeah.
Oh man, as you were saying, I feel like I just got all the warm, fuzzy feels.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, and I think it's totally fine that you're, connecting because that's what we want, right? We want these books to be able to connect with our students, and of course, they're going
Mhm.
to also connect with us. And it was just, yeah, funny, like you were saying. I have a dad. I'm his only kid. I'm the girl. And a lot of the times I always thought, he probably would have been better with a boy because he likes to do, I guess, the stereotypical, what you would say boy stuff is. But like growing up, he was the one who would take me to school. So he is the one who would like do my hair and get me ready and, cook me breakfast. And he did those things. And to me, it was just normal. But I remember I'd go into school and like the girls would talk about how their moms did their hair. And, my mom was working because she had an early morning shift. And like I just remember people would like joke around with my dad like, oh, like you're doing her hair, but it was normal. And I think it should be normal because like you're saying, as a parent, I'm not a parent either, but I'm just assuming that you do what you can for your kid, and it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if it's twirling around in a ballerina outfit or fixing their bike and teaching them how to ride it. I think it's just stepping up and caring. And yeah, I think we're gonna eventually maybe dive a little deeper because I think the gender thing, talking about this is really important because in class, something came up about a color, and one of my students was like, "Oh, pink isn't for boys; it's for girls." And then we kind of were like, "Well, every color is for everybody. There's
Mhm.
no label anywhere that says pink can only be used for girls." And as I said that, another student was like, yeah, like I like pink. And it was a little boy. And then everybody else started chiming in, well, like I like purple and green. And I was like, it doesn't matter what color, you decide to pick, there's nothing on the box or written that says, boys have to like blue and girls have to like pink. And I'm maybe really happy to see my kids, sharing what they liked and kind of making that be okay for the whole class and kind of setting that norm that we can like whatever color we like. And
Yes.
it gives me hope. So I really like it. I like those books, and I'm glad you liked them as well.
Yeah, no, they definitely were cute. But yeah, going to your books.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to do your three questions now or
Oh,
after.
I kind of am feeling it a little after.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. So yeah, going along with this, we kind of decided on this topic because I believe when this episode comes out, it'll be around Mother's Day,
Mhm.
which my book kind of is a little bit around it. So I picked Stella Brings the Family, and it's by Miriam B. Schieffer, and it's illustrated by Holly Clifton Brown. And it's about a little girl named Stella who has two fathers. And at school, they announced that they're going to have a Mother's Day party or celebration. And, moms are being invited to come. And throughout the book, Stella, is just sitting there really worried. Like, what am I going to do? I don't have a mom. Who am I going to invite? And as the story goes, some of her friends are saying, well, you know, who, who kisses your ouchies, when they hurt? And she's like, oh, it's, my papa or my dad, or I think she mentions like her aunt or grandpa or grandma. And someone else is, well, like who, who cooks with you or reads bedtime stories with you. And she makes the connections that she has these people who care about her just because it doesn't fit the mold of having a mom and a dad who do these things.
Mhm.
She has two dads, but she has a family that cares about her. And it has a really cute ending. And I liked it because it kind of made me think back to one of our episodes in the way beginning, when we were talking about like summer and breaks. And sometimes as teachers, it's so easy to say, hey, what'd you do over, summer break? And some of the kids feel the pressure of saying like, oh, like I went on this, great extravagant trip, and other kids don't have that opportunity to do that.
Mhm.
And it made me think of this where it's always nice to like do a nice little craft or do a gift for Mother's Day, but I think we also have to be aware that what's normal isn't really normal anymore. And that families are different now, and that's okay. But I think being aware when we do these projects that a student might not have a mom, and it could be for so many reasons. Maybe
Yeah.
she lives with grandparents, she lives with aunt and uncle. There's a lot of different possibilities, but I like that book just because it does make us aware as educators that sometimes, we might be going in trying to do something that's positive, but we also have to be aware that students have different needs or things like that. So I thought it was important to, bring up.
Yeah. No, and I definitely do like that about the different, because I think that kids are naturally questioning, like that is
Yeah.
just their nature. They're curious. And so I love that the book kind of touches upon like what a kid would naturally ask. Well, who kisses your boo-boos? Who tucks you
Yeah.
in at night? And um I think kids who do have different family structures probably maybe scared to talk about it because they're like,
Yeah.
well, what if I say the wrong thing? Or and I think this book is a really great book for that, because it's okay for kids to have questions,
Hmm.
because but at the same time, like we should celebrate the different family structures. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah, answering just honestly and being like, well, I have my papa who sometimes reads me, or my dad kisses my boo-boos, or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I really, really enjoy that. And it makes me think of the book that we almost used for our masters, A Family is a Family.
Yes, yeah. That
Yeah.
was a good one, and I wanted to use that too, but I think we might have briefly talked
Hmm.
about it. But I definitely want to go back. But yeah, I thought that was a great book too, and if not, I'll try to include it in one of our future posts on Instagram. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love that book as well.
Yeah. So it's like it really made me just think of that, and just about how kids should know about different family structures, so that other kids aren't embarrassed or scared to talk
Hmm.
about like, well, I live with my aunt, or I live with my grandparents, or I
Yeah.
have a foster mom. And so celebrating that. And I also really loved the point you brought up about how asking that question of like, what did you do over summer break? And I
Hmm.
never really thought about it when I was in school, because to me it was like, oh, okay, like what did I do over summer
Yeah.
break? But I've heard so many people comment of like, oh, I used to lie and like say that I went to Disneyland,
Yeah.
or I used to like lie and be like, oh, I went and visited my grandparents in like a different state, because they feel the pressure of like, well,
Mhm.
if I just stayed at home and did nothing, like I'm no longer going to be a cool kid.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's that wanting to like fit in,
mhm,
when it's okay to be different and not,
yeah,
have gone on this extravagant trip. Most summers I didn't do that. It's very rare that I did go on
yeah,
summer trips. But yeah, I love this book, and I don't know. I hope it teachers and other people who are working with kids are just aware, because it is a fun holiday to celebrate. And I'm not saying we shouldn't celebrate Father's Day and Mother's Day. I think
yeah.
it's just being aware that not every kid might be able to celebrate it normal, quote unquote, normally. But yes, for our three questions, the who writes the stories. So the author is Miriam, and she is a New York based writer and children's book consultant, and she has an MFA in creative writing from Columbia University. And this is actually her first children's book, which I was kind of impressed because I think it's a great book. And the illustrator is Holly, and she is brought up in the English countryside where she loved to look at pictures in books. And she completed a degree in illustrations at the University of West England. And I love hearing when illustrators talk about how they loved looking at the kid. Like, I don't know, it makes me feel like they appreciate it a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um, so who benefits from the stories? Obviously, I think kids who have the quote unquote different families, it's going to be nice for them to see a book where maybe they have two moms or two dads, and they see this book and they feel that connection, I think that's really important. And who's missing? Oh, and then also for the who benefits, I think educators, because I think before, I might have glossed over and just done something for Mother's Day, but now I want to be aware, and I want to know my students, who their families are, who they would want to write a note to on that holiday,
Hmm.
and who's missing from the stories. Well, I think this is a really great book. Um, as a person of color, I'm gonna have to say I would have loved to have a diverse cast. When you look at it, obviously you're gonna look and you see, two white males and a white little girl. And while of course I don't think there's anything wrong with it, I think we're in a place right now where it would be really nice to see diverse characters. And I think It's really, really needed in children's books. So I would have loved to have, yeah, just a diverse cast. I think maybe in a future book, and it would even be good to have parents who aren't of the same ethnicity, because that's, something that's also not quote unquote norm.
Yeah.
So while I think it's a great book and I think it's a step in the right direction, of course, I think there's always things that we can, keep trying to get towards.
Wow, it's very rare for us to be like, is something missing from this? But
Yeah.
it's insightful for us to now really start looking at books and being like, okay, what is missing from this?
Yeah.
So that we are recommending books that do have a wide variety of characters and all of
Yeah.
that.
And
So,
it's not easy because, and I don't ever want to discredit their work, of course, but I think as an educator and as someone who is a person of color, I think I also have to be honest, and like I mentioned, I think this is a great book, but if I were to pinpoint what I think is missing, I would love to also see this. But if authors or illustrators are ever listening, I hope they never take it in the wrong way. I think it's
yeah.
just things that, we might notice.
Yeah. So then going to my three questions, I kind of like leaving them at the end sometimes. I don't know why. Just kind of like a nice little finish to the episode.
Yeah.
So who writes the story? So it's Doug Senko, and he's the author and the illustrator. And he's kind of been working kind of like illustrating for a very, very long time. He's worked for illustration, like special effects companies, and he says that he has designed special effects for shows including WrestleMania, the Academy
Oh.
Awards, and Pitch Perfect 2. So he said he likes working with fireworks. So I think like some of like the special effects for fireworks. That's
That's
pretty
pretty
cool. Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And if you saw a picture of him, he kind of looks like the dad in my Papa is a Princess.
Oh, really?
So I was like, I wonder if he modeled that after himself. Like that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So that's who writes the story. Who benefits from both of these? I think everyone does. Just kind of seeing like a different side and seeing different ways that parents can care or any caregiver can care for a child.
Mhm.
So I think everyone does. Who is missing from the story? I feel like the story only features like each one features only two characters, so it's like the mom and the son,
Mhm.
the daughter and the dad. So it's like I feel like there's not a lot of characters in it, so it's not like anybody's missing from it. But it
Yeah.
would be interesting to have like more books about like maybe talking about like aunts and grandparents who are
Oh, yeah.
caregivers, like maybe other things. So it's not just always like, oh, it's my mom, or maybe it could be stepmoms or foster
Yes.
parents or any type of adult that watches a child, like my caregiver. So I think that would be nice to see other books like that. If you're out there if the author's out there listening, like good ideas to kind of like diversify that. So that would be great.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, it would be really nice to see that, especially I think now that you said, like, foster parents, I think would be a really great one to showcase, like having a book similar to those books, but having it be not just a mom, but maybe an aunt, a grandma, a
Mhm.
foster mom, different kind of like role models. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, wow, I feel like this one was so quick, like
Yeah.
we were just on it.
We're getting better at this. We're getting more efficient, everyone.
Yeah, and not because we're trying to rush through, but
No.
like we said, we're trying to squeeze in on a busy day of Zoom teaching on our first year. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice that we have a good flow to this. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it and don't feel like we're rushing through, but let us
No,
know.
no.
uh,
So we always kind of end with like an ending challenge and an ending question. So sometimes we go like away from the topics, and then sometimes we kind of bring them to the topics. And I think this week we decided for the topics.
yeah.
So for the ending challenge, we are for the ending challenge, we decided on telling somebody who you consider like a family member, um, just thank you and for everything that they've done, for the small things that they have instilled in you. I think just because this episode will be kind of airing around Mother's Day, so that would be nice just to kind of say something,
Yeah.
show some appreciation somehow. So
Yeah.
go out there,
Okay.
do
I'm
that.
gonna take I don't know if it'll be the previous, because sometimes our order is a little odd, but I was gonna thank somebody. Speaking of this whole like norm thing, I'm going back to my brother, so hopefully he's listening. But my brother is a few years older than me, so there's a few times where he would take me to the dentist, and he would just sit there with me. And if you know me, you know I'm terrified of the dentist. So I just want to thank him, because I'm sure not all older siblings would want to hang out with their little sister and take her to the dentist. So thank you for being there for me, especially as like an older brother. He might have wanted to like go do something else. So thank you for that. So that's my thank you. But I'm gonna go
Aw.
into our ending question. And it's gonna kind of go with the book that I was talking about, where I guess the easy way to say it is like, how are you making sure that you're including your students when you're
Mhm.
doing celebrations? But as I was like thinking, how do you get to know like family structures? Because I, of course, never want to come out and say like, does everybody have a mom? So like, as educators or even parents who are listening, how do you sometimes approach the subject of being like, hey, this is our family and we're maybe a little different. We, have were we married and this is stepmom, stepdad, things like that, or as teachers, how do you make sure parents are feeling comfortable enough with you to share that type of information? So let us know, especially as first year teachers. I would love to hear from some veteran teachers and how they kind of make it more inclusive.
Yeah. Okay. That is all
Uh,
for us.
Yeah, so please subscribe to our podcast. We are on all major podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify. Give us a rating. 5 stars would be amazing, and we would really appreciate it. And I'm sure that I've seen it on Apple podcast, so I'm checking everybody. So it would be really nice if you guys could give us 5 stars. And leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. This is our second season, and we would
Mhm.
love to know what you guys have thought about this little journey that we're on. And follow our YouTube channel. We record all of our episodes and we put them on YouTube. And follow our Instagram at _bookboat. I don't know why for a second I was like, am I reading this correctly? But yes, it is at _bookboat. And give us a like on Facebook, the bookboat. And I want to give a quick shout out to San Jose State. I'm wearing my San Jose State shirt today, but every single episode that we have posted, they have shared it not just on their Instagram, but I've seen them share it on Facebook, and I've seen them share it even on Twitter, which
Mhm.
we don't have a Twitter because I don't want to spread ourselves too thin, but I have seen them share it. And I just hope that they know that we really appreciate it. And I'm sure they're bringing in some listeners.
Yeah.
Even if if San Jose State sent you to us, let us know. Leave us a comment and let us know that they sent you to us, because it really means a lot. They don't have to keep posting us, but they do. And I just want them to know that we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Definitely. They have been so nice, and I love all the posts that they make about us. So thank you, San Jose.
Yes, and if you're thinking of applying there for your credential, I highly recommend.
Definitely do it.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap up our episode. So if you are listening to this after Mother's Day, I hope you guys all had a wonderful Mother's Day and a Father's Day coming up, and just make sure to celebrate the important people in your life. And thank
Mhm.
you for listening.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.